All right, so I was in a session this morning with several architects and going over some models we were working on. I was on the start page and I was on recent. Everyone has seen recent, and then I've talked about pinned in this channel. You can certainly pin any of these to the pin section. You're allowed to have 10 pinned. I'm not going to pin anything in this session. I've talked about it before, but I hit this down arrow and I went to watched, and everyone in the room was surprised by this feature that they didn't know about. So we're going to talk about it in this episode. So the start page loads every time you load a project in Sparx by default, unless you set a cover page that loads by default for you. And I've talked about cover pages and creating them. Like if I launch this demo folder, this is the default cover page, and it does not go to the start page, right, by default. And I'll include a link about default cover pages, how to create them and set them up down below. All right. So in this, you have the ability to manage your recent views as well as your pin views. So I can pin this, as I spoke about a moment ago, over to the right side, or I can set up a watch list and it will allow me to manage particular views is what I want to state. Now I'm going to do it again. Right click on this, add the watch list. I'm not seeing it, watch list pop up. Let me do this one. Add to watch list. I get the manage models configuration dialog. Let me cancel out. So on this one, add to watch list, it doesn't show up. If I go to recent and I go to watched, I see the items that I have set up already or configured to be watched for certain areas. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. If I select this again, configure watched models. So here I can add models that I want to put on my watch list. And let's talk more about that now. So let's cancel this and let's go back to recent. All right. So let's say I want to add BPMN and scenarios, which was a previous episode. I want to add it to the watch list. The team's working on it, or maybe even I'm working on it, and I want to watch and look for changes that are taking place at a particular start time, like showing activity from. I can come in and I can change this. Talk about that more in just a moment. So I can add new items here. We just added this one. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. So now this one, if I go to watched, is in the list, yet there's no activity taking place in BPMN and scenarios. We'll talk more about extending the watch time in just a moment. But I want to talk about adding new using this configuration box. Right? So I can hit new and I can look for a local file. I can connect to a cloud server. I can use any connection string that helps me get to a particular project that I want to put on my watch list. Let's cancel out and let's see here. I am going to, I'm going to put this local file on my watch list, UML and Archimate. This is a project file I use quite a bit. I'm going to go to edit connection details. I'm going to hit Control C to copy this string. I'm going to cancel out of it. We're going to go into watched, configured watched. I'm going to put new, and then I'm going to use connection string. I'm going to paste this connection string in there, and now UML and Archimate is in this watched list. This is my watch list that's taking place for my Sparx implementation. Now I can select any one of these and I can configure them. Let's go to configure. Right now by default, new model messages is checked, recent element discussions, model diagrams. These are modified diagrams and modified elements. This is the one I'm interested in. I'm not necessarily interested in messaging or discussions, but that's a very important feature. So I leave that up in case any of the team is collaborating around elements. These other ones by default are not checked. Task active, ending, today, etc. Right? But I'm just going to leave these default ones there. You can certainly select all and clear all, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to hit OK, right? Now I'm going to hit OK again. And now I've added UML and Archimate project models to my watch list. Now, if I go back to the watch list and I go configure, you can see showing activity from and then today's date. So any changes that have taken place. Let's go back a few days, the 21st. I want to see what's been taking place since the 21st. In fact, the beginning of the week, the 20th, right? So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And now this was refreshed and you're seeing, oh, in UML and Archimate, there were 16 recent model element modifications and one diagram that was in this time frame recently modified. And I can select UML and Archimate and go right to it. All right. So now it's going into UML and Archimate. I'm hitting the cover page and I can go and find that. I'm going to go back to the start page and I'm going to go back to demo, right? So I'm going to launch demo. I can right click and launch demo in a new instance and keep UML and Archimate up. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm launching demo in its own instance while I keep this instance up. And I can do that for any effort that's taking place. So now we're back to demo. You can see it loaded the demo, the topics cover page by default. I'm going back to the start page. So you can do that on any of these, right? That you want to put on your watch list and you can configure them. Simply go to watched. You can go here, BPMN and scenarios. I want to see what changes have taken place over a month. All right. So let's just go here. And what I'm going to do May 20th, I'm actually going to go back to April 22nd and hit OK. Still no changes in BPMN scenarios. So what I can do is I can go to the watch list, say, well, nothing active on it, nothing to watch. I can check it off here. I'm going to hit OK. And now in the watch list, it's been removed. However, if I go back to configure, it's still there. And I can bring it back if another modeler told me, hey, I'm now working back on the BPMN and scenarios for the next training course or what have you. All right. So, or I can sit here and I can delete it. Now, if I delete it, just to clean up my watch list, it will not come back into view in that configured window. Let's go back to UML and Archimate. We said it had one recently modified diagram and 16 recently modified elements. And we went to it and you land on this cover page and you're going, well, what changed? Remember, and I've talked about this before, if you go up here in this search, you see recent, you can look at recent diagrams. So it'll go and search. This is the diagram change. You can double click on it and you're able to go to what has taken place over the last 3 days. You can come in here and you can change this value to a much longer period of time to look back. But let's go look at recent element changes. Here you can see here are the 16 that the recent changes were telling us about, the 16 recently modified elements. So I can quickly find those. And then again, you know, I can right click to them. I can find them in the browser or in diagrams. And I can very quickly get to items from the watch list, launching specific projects that it gives me links to. All right, I hope this video has been helpful for you. Again, if you want to learn more about this, you can certainly go open up the Configure Watch, go to Sparx help page. It's under model watches within the index, and it tells you basically go to the start page, go to the recent dropdown, and then look for that. So go to the start page, go to the recent, let's do it back, go to the recent dropdown, configure watch elements, and there you go, right? And you can modify these any way you want. Hey, I'm only going to be watching what I'm demoing in YouTube or the Learning Channel page. I just want to turn the other ones off, and I go to watched, and I only see those two, right? Sometimes this watch list gets rather large with project teams that I'm working with. We have multiple projects that are out there, different Sparx projects, different cloud or SQL, cloud SQL instances, and even local instances. And local can be on a file share that everyone has access to. So we're trying to watch what changes are going on and manage the various architects, and this makes it very easy to do. So I was quite surprised today when everyone was shocked by, hey, when did that come about? The watch list has been around for a while, I think. I mean, I go way back to version 4. I think watch lists, probably need to look back. I was using it, I think, in version 15, but I could be wrong. Time flies when we're having fun. But that's the watch list. I got asked the other day what build that I'm on. I'm on build 1628 right now, version 16.1. So it's called 16.1.1628, 1628. And you can always check your version by going to the home page and then hitting the About EA, and it will show you what your license number is, and it'll show you what version you're on. All right. So again, I hope this was helpful for you. And until the next episode, happy modeling.